This video is brought to you by ASRock and the X570 Tai Chi Razer Edition. Yeah, Razer and ASRock have partnered up for the ultimate in RGB control. This is awesome. Razer Synapse 3 right on the motherboard, dual ARGB and 50/50 headers for complete control over your RGB experience, and a ton of ARGB zones right on the motherboard. You've also got 16 50 amp power stages for power delivery to the CPU. I've tested it, I've overclocked with it. It's truly impressive. There's a lot of other sort of second gen tweaks and lessons learned on this motherboard. It's got a good layout if you want it to run, a GPU, a triple slot GPU, and other add-in cards. It's PCI Express 4, of course, because this is the X570 version. There's also a B550 version that's also the Razer special sauce, but yeah, 3-year warranty and all the accoutrement. It's a really high-end X570 board. You should check it out if you're considering a AMD for your next build.
We got a request here at Level 1 Techs that it just goes to show you that when you're on the internet, you never know who you're going to hear from. It's a somewhat high-profile person who has asked us to maybe do some consulting involving storage and cloud services. They want to set up their own. We're not sure if it's actually going to happen or not, so we don't want to announce anything about it yet. But as part of it, we wanted to very quickly give them a demo of what we had in mind for setting up their own personal cloud, and that involves Nextcloud. And if you want to set up a real quick demo of Nextcloud, where are you going to go? Well, I think you know what I'm going to say if you've watched any of these before. We're going to Linode, because Linode has the one-click marketplace, and Nextcloud is one of their one-click items. So let's run through it. It is super easy. It is amazingly easy. You don't really need a demo for this, but we're going to show you how to do it anyway because it is so easy to do this with Linode. It's probably about 20 or 30 bucks a month if you want to host your Nextcloud on Linode. And I got to say, after using Nextcloud, they have a beautiful interface. Everything works really well. It's fast, it's slick. It's a little like too inline and sexy for my taste because I'm old and I'm not used to this newfangled stuff. But it works great and it looks really good. So let's take a look at it. One quick thing about this video, when you hear the voiceover, I mentioned OnlyOffice a couple of times. We'd intended to use OnlyOffice with this, and I did install it, but Collabora is the default that comes with Nextcloud, and it works great. And it did everything we wanted it to do, so we didn't actually bother with OnlyOffice. So when I mention OnlyOffice, you're actually looking at Collabora, which is part of the suite of things that you can install with the checkbox as you're installing Nextcloud. To set up Nextcloud on Linode, we're going to use their one-click marketplace. Create a Linode, but instead of setting up a distribution like we normally would, we're going to go over to the marketplace where we have all these install apps that are set up for us. You could do it the other way, but what this is going to do, it's going to ensure that you get an environment that is specific to this kind of thing and install it for you. So Nextcloud, we'll click on. And we have a series of options here. Some are required, some are not. Now for my passwords, I've already prepped a text file so I can keep track of them easily. MySQL root password, the MySQL user password that we will need to set up, and the root password for the server itself. So those are basically the only things you need. Now you can set up a limited sudo user. You can set up SSH keys, all these various access level stuff. Also for the domain, now if you're going to do a Nextcloud server with a domain access, then one of your options, instead of setting up your own records on your DNS, you can point your DNS to Linode and set this up here, and Linode will handle that for you. I'm not going to bother with that because this is just a test. So we're just going to try this out, so we'll access it via IP instead of worrying about setting up any sort of DNS for it. SSL we don't really care about either. Again, this is just a a demo thing, but you probably would want to do that if you're going to use this for real, especially if you're going to have multiple people using it. When it comes to the image, there are no options. They will only install under a Debian 10. That's the best for Nextcloud, at least in the opinion of Linode. We can choose our region. We'll choose Atlanta. And we have to choose what kind of CPU we want to give it. And I'm going to go for the 4 gigabyte because I want quite a bit of storage. This is, after all, cloud storage. I don't know how much testing will be done, but maybe some large files will be thrown at this, so we want to make sure we have some room for it. I'm going to keep all of the various labels and stuff. Not too worried about that. And I'm not going to bother with an SSH key because, again, this is a demo, but certainly something you could do. Backups, private IP, not worried about that. And with all of that set, we will click the create button. You're going to wait for the boot cycle to finish. This page will update automatically as that goes forward. And when it is ready, you're going to log in. After you've waited long enough for your Nextcloud instance to boot up and actually start, and even after it says it's booted, if you try to access it and you can't get to it, give it a couple of minutes because it might need time to start some services or whatever. We will have the IP address. Now, if you went through the DNS stuff, you'll have a little bit more set up there, but we're just going to use the IP address to access our Nextcloud because this is not a permanent thing. And we might be blurring this IP address out depending on whether we're done testing it before this video goes up. As long as we delete this before the video goes up, we'll show it to you. But it's over here under the IP addresses, or in the IP addresses box. You get IPv4 and IPv6. We will access via IPv4, and it's just going to be that IP address or the domain you set up /Nextcloud. And here we go. This is our setup page for freshly installed Nextcloud. For the admin user, just going to call that NCAdmin. And I have my freshly prepared password. Database user, database password, database name. Now, you might be thinking, hey, we didn't set those up. Yeah, we didn't. We used the default. But the default, if you'll go back and look at the Linode creation for both the user and the database, is just Nextcloud. And the database password you did set, and hopefully you recorded that value so that you can supply it here. Localhost is fine for where we'll connect to because this is already running on this server. The recommended apps are optional, but since we are just trying this out, why not? Why not have those? So now we will click finish setup and let it do its thing. Here we're going through the app installation. I do appreciate when an installer walks me through what it's doing instead of just sitting there making me wait. That's nice UI for an installer. These are the additional things that we chose to install as a package for our Nextcloud instance. You can skip this step if you don't want these things. And here we are. First time Nextcloud has started. Nice little splash screen. That's not really necessary. Does it want me to interact with it? Oh, slideshow. Everybody loves a slideshow. Host your data and files. Yes, I would like to do that. Open standards. Oh, that's great. Open source. We love it. 100 apps in the Nextcloud App Store. Nice. We will be installing one of those at least. And yeah, some mobile stuff. Desktop app so that you can connect to it. We'll take a look at the desktop app next, or at least later. Start contributing. Well, I don't have time, but maybe someday. Let's start using Nextcloud. So for users and groups, we want to head over to our Nextcloud widget here, the control widget, and go down to users. The only user we have right now is the NCAdmin. We don't want to do things as the admin. That's bad form. So we need to set up users who will be doing the day-to-day things. Now this demo is actually for a super secret project, which may actually never happen. I'd say it's maybe a little worse than 50-50 at this point. But music might be one kind of group that project would involve, and maybe video would be another kind of group. that project will be involved with. And so let's create both of those groups now and pop in some users. So let's just say muser1 for music user1. That's fine for display name. I've realized that OBS is not picking up these suggested passwords, so I can use those. Let me just record them in my handy dandy text file here. Email, with any luck, it's going to let me leave that blank. And we're going to put this user in music. Music, not video, not admin. That's some weird UI. Like you click and the arrow stays there till you mouse away from it. A little confusing. I understand why they did it. It's sexy, but it's a little confusing. We don't want them to be an administrator. Let's not worry about quota. You know what? We're demoing. Let's not worry about quotas, because they might actually need to use more than that. All right, that seems to be it. Can we get away with no email? Yes. Okay. Still shows a 1 there. Let's reload that page. Hey, there's the 2. So now we have muser1, and let's go ahead and we'll set up vuser1 as well. And we'll get another suggested password here. And we will put them in video and create. And there they are. Vuser1 still says 2. Reload the page. Now it says 3. So there we go. We got groups and we got users. So now let's maybe set up some storage for those users. So we have our users. Let's set up some folders for those users. Go here to the files page, and from the files page, click the plus. We can add documents through the Collabra app, or we can add a folder or upload a file. Let's just add some folders. Now we got a music user and a video user. We'll make a folder for each one of those. And there we are. No files in here. Now you could click and upload, and you can't see the upload prompt that came up on Windows, but we're all familiar with that, right? Everybody knows how to upload a file. The other thing we can do here is to share. Now, I immediately kind of had the idea, I was like, well, I just created 2 groups. Can I share via group? Well, that's one of those things that not by default. It seems like Nextcloud wants you to share either through links or through direct users. Now, there is, I did a little bit of searching. There is an app called Group Folders, and we can install that, and this would give you the ability to control the permissions on folders via group. But I don't actually know how the end user is going to use this. I'm not the end user here, so I'm not going to bother with that. We'll just stick with the default, and the way we do that is very simple. So we go over to the music, we click the share, and we're going to start typing the username I want to share it with, muser1. And once we've shared that with muser1, they're there, and they can access whatever's in this folder. They can add stuff to this. We can also go through the share link, which can be controlled to be a different kind of share link: drop only, read only, or full access, whatever you want. You can put a password on this. So there's several ways that you can control your shares. Now let's take a look at one of the ways that Nextcloud wants you to manage your documents and your files, and that is through projects. So projects, like the basic permission system are based on sharing and generating these sharing links. But the project gives you the ability to tie it all together and view them as one entity. So if someone is involved in the project, then they can see the project. But they can't necessarily see everything in the project. It's still based on those sharing permissions. But anyway, let's take a look at it. So we'll go into video, and let's just create a text document, and we'll call this video document. Here we go. This is the basic text editor. Nothing too fancy. You know, you get your basic formatting up here. A little bit better than Notepad, but not by much. And then as soon as you close it, it's going to save automatically, and you can get back to it. Now, in terms of creating the project, you know, in my mind, it's like, oh, there's got to be a project administration screen, right? And I can just create a new project, but not really. You create them on demand in line, like everything else here. So now let's go over to music, and inside of music, let's create. We'll create a rich text document here. Let's call this music for the video, because these two things are going to be a part of a project. You got to give this a minute. This is the rich text editor that is loading the Office instance. I feel like after experiencing this, I ought to have given this Linode more memory. This is 4 gigabytes. That is the minimum requirement for only Office, but it's sluggish. Oh, here it goes. Here it goes. Here it goes. We're in. All right. Now, as you can see, you can hear my keyboard here. Sluggish. So if you're going to do only Office, I would recommend a little bit more powerful instance from Linode, not the 4 gigabyte. It seems to want more horsepower to run all this stuff, but it works much the same way. I mean, if you've used an Office program, you're familiar with this, has all those tools and stuff like that. So now that we're happy with it, we'll close out that document, and now we want to link them up. So let's go to the details page and look at the sharing tab, and down here we have the project management thing. Now, right now we don't have, so it says type to search for existing projects, but we don't have a project. What we want to do is we want to create a project by linking these two files. So we'll head back over to our video folder and choose video document, which we created. And now this item is the project. So you can see rename project, and we will call this the music video project. And if you click on that, it will show you all the files that are involved in the music video project. And as you go forward, uploading things or creating things on Nextcloud, you can now tag music video project because it exists now. Let's head back over to the Nextcloud manual. We want to put the Nextcloud manual in the music video project. So we'll head over to the sharing tab there. And if we just start typing, here is the music video project. There's actually one with an uppercase P and one with a lowercase p, because I did this before I recorded it to make sure it worked. I believe you have to unlink things manually to destroy a project. See, that's the thing about, like, I would like to have a project administration screen. All this inline stuff, it's sexy and it's cool, but I want a project administration screen. Am I overlooking that? My Googling tells me no. So those are the high points of Nextcloud. You know, you're looking to use this as cloud storage. Probably the Office is a nice thing. Now it does have some other features we'll take a real quick look at. We've seen the dashboard, we've seen the files. Photos is just a roundup of all the photos that you've uploaded, no matter where they are. And videos are in here too. This is the intro video, the splash screen. And activity obviously just shows you what activity's been going on in Nextcloud. That's useful. Talk. There's currently nobody else on this Nextcloud instance, so I can't really talk to anybody. But you know, you create a new conversation, and you can send links, or you can add participants. So we'll add music user 1. And there's our conversation. Unfortunately, music user 1 is not with us because he doesn't exist. He or she, I should say. We've also got this call feature. So, if you want to do instant messaging, this is a great way to collaborate if you're into that kind of thing, especially in these uncertain times. Am I right? Mail, if you want to use mail within your Nextcloud. You got your contact list, of course. Oh, I don't have any contacts, but this works just like Outlook, basically, right? Contacts and calendar. We've all seen them. We can add a calendar event. Multi-day events. Pretty basic. Attendees, reminders, repeat. Yeah, we've all seen this before. I'm sure it's fully functional. I'm not going to sit and play with it though. So that's pretty much the overview of Nextcloud. Like I say, we're going to demo this for a possible upcoming project for the channel as part of a storage solution. But for now, I think we want to take a look at the client, because there is a desktop client that you can use with your Nextcloud instance. You don't have to connect through it through a web browser. If you head on over to nextcloud.com/clients, you can get the mobile and desktop clients for your new Nextcloud. And we will go to the download now button. And I will check out Windows. 102 megabytes. I'll get that installed and we'll look at it. So here we are with the Nextcloud Windows app. This is the startup screen. You can, of course, use an existing Nextcloud provider. That's not what we're doing. We're hosting our own. Host your own server. That's actually just a link to tell you how to do it. What you want to do is log in. And we will point this toward our Nextcloud server. Now what this has done, which you can't see, is spawn a browser window where it is looking for an authentication through the browser in order to authorize my desktop app. I'm already logged in as the administrator, so it's going to let me grant access. If you weren't already logged in, then you would have to go through that. And now, coming back to our Nextcloud window, we got some options here. We got synchronization, ask before syncing, choose what to sync, blah, 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 where to keep it all. I guess that's fine. I'll just remove all that later. And let's connect. The Nextcloud Windows client is mostly just an integration. The app itself doesn't really do a whole lot, so it exists here in your system tray. It shows you the history of what's been going on Nextcloud, and you can do some things like change your account, change the synchronization settings. It does have this settings screen here. You can change your folder synchronization, stuff like that. It's got some network settings, some general options about what the app does, ignoring files, blah, blah, blah. Do automatic updates, that sort of thing. But mostly you're not going to be using the app itself. Mostly it's the Explorer integration, because if you go into the app and you click this folder, it's going to spawn your local folder. So here it's in my user directory under Nextcloud. And this is actually a synchronization of what's out there on Nextcloud. And any changes I make here will be represented on Nextcloud. So for example, let's make a new text document and call this desktop client file. And when we head over to the files section, there's desktop client file. So we're basically just synchronizing between the two things. That's just a convenient way to work on your desktop, not have to do everything through the web menu. And everything else you click on pretty much here just spawns the website. So if you have conversation, I imagine you get alerts to your desktop when you get contacted on Nextcloud. That's convenient because you don't always want to have Nextcloud running in a browser necessarily. And then if you click this one over here, any of these also just spawn a web page to Nextcloud to show you your calendar, for example. So not a whole lot goes on in the app itself, but the Explorer integration is the big thing. Also, don't give me any comments about activating Windows. Oh, it's only $10, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. So that was Nextcloud. Be sure and check out that affiliate link if you want to check this out on Linode. Like I say, the marketplace has a bunch of other stuff, and if everything works as great with the one-click, we've tried a couple of them. If everything works as easily as Nextcloud, there's a lot of stuff to explore in there, and it gets set up so quickly. So good luck if you want to host your own cloud. Linode.com.